Another guy, he's got one. He's like, I provide all the documents the same for every customer, providing a whole depth of information, and it was good preliminarily. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Iron City Garage. My name is Pete Morris. I own Iron City Garage. I heard we have a bunch of new subscribers today that we picked up off of our last video. So thanks everybody, welcome. Today we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A with me on Carlisle, which is a big swap meet out here in Pennsylvania. We're going to get into why I set up the way I do, why I take what I take, and what my take on swap meets in 2022 is. I've been going to swap meets my whole life. I've been to swap meets all over the United States, so they've had some questions for me today about kind of what I think about them and where they're going, and which swap meets are the better ones and the ones that I prefer.
So what is your history at Carlisle and some of your favorite experiences there?
So I was at Carlisle from a very young age. I was probably there in a stroller. My dad was there probably late 80s, early 90s. Back before the internet, these swap meets were what everybody looked forward to, prepared for all year round. Just imagine not being able to put something up for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Just imagine your only outlet to sell was an in-person swap meet. So all of these swap meets used to be the biggest thing going. You'd be buying spaces off of somebody that paid, whatever face value was, 20, 30 bucks. You could pay somebody $1,000 a space if it was in a good area at the show. Today, swap meets are a lot different. What the swap meets have turned into today are, there's a lot more big manufacturers there where people are picking up parts to save on shipping, a lot of reproduction items, a lot of reproduction parts. Back in the day, it was a lot more original stuff. You had a lot more signs, automobilia, gas pumps, stuff like that coming out. You still get a lot of that at these shows, but my experience at Carlisle is, honestly, I didn't take Carlisle that seriously in the last, I don't know, probably up until about 3 years ago. Prior to that, we'd go shop Carlisle. We'd hit it hard for 2 days just picking it because it is a very large show. Then I kind of saw some more value in it. Carlisle was on a big upswing there, especially now after the pandemic. People weren't able to get out there, so Carlisle events is definitely kind of back on the map in my eyes. The last few shows I've set up at, I did well.
What was your expectations for going into Carlisle in 2022?
My expectations for Carlisle 2022 were better weather, for one. We were not expecting brutal weather we got. We were expecting a little bit of rain on setup day. We weren't expecting sleet and snow. Now, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, born and raised, so I know that anytime I'm doing anything in Western PA for an extended period of time, you need to bring shorts, tennis shoes, boots, long johns, winter hats, winter coat, gloves, scarves, whatever. you need to be prepared for 80 degrees or snow, no matter what time of year it is. I was expecting, honestly, probably less of a crowd. It was very, very busy. Yeah, I mean, we sold a ton of stuff. I mean, I had probably worse expectations, honestly. We had a really, really great spring Carlisle.
Day-by-day breakdown of like the Monday through Friday, so like how that crowd kind of builds.
Our schedule for Carlisle, we get there Monday. I like to do this because there's very little people there shopping. You know, you can come in there on a Monday and shop it. It's very kind of scarce out there as far as people that are there. I like to set up that early because it takes a lot. I mean, you'll see in our time lapses in our videos of our setup, it takes a long time to set up. And I like to do it with no distractions and nobody bothering me on pricing and this and that. I just want to get the booth set up the way I want it. So that's Monday. We can really take our time and still not be ready for Tuesday. Tuesday we get into pricing after we laid everything out. So now vendors are coming in every day. So I do a little bit of work, hop in the golf cart, go pick the show, come back. Do a little bit more pricing, eat lunch, move stuff around, keep coming past the front of the booth, walking around the booth, seeing what it's going to look like from different angles of walking the aisle, because I want my booth to grasp people walking by so they come in and they shop. Wednesday it starts to get busier. Wednesday it turns into a partial retail day. Wednesday a lot of the vendors are there. Thursday's full-on retail day. Friday's full-on retail day. Saturday, Sunday at all of these swap meets, as far as with the vendors go, have kind of got a bad rap for not having a lot of serious shoppers there. We're also wore out by then. We're also getting low on clothes then. We're getting low on food. We're getting low on propane. We're just kind of wore out. So Saturday typically, you know, if you sold well, you're packing up Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You know, your serious buyers are there earlier. In our case, we didn't have a lot left to sell. I mean, I was down to the nitty-gritty stuff that really didn't have any value, so we were ready to go. I'd say Carlisle's on the slower end of things Sunday. Most of your action is Thursday, Friday. Friday is probably the best day.
What goes into preparing for the swap meet? A swap meet or Carlisle specifically?
Preparing for the swap meets is tough. So for shows like Carlisle and Hershey specifically, a lot goes into it. So I'd say spring's a little bit easier because in the fall we roll from fall Carlisle into Hershey. So spring Carlisle, A, is how much stuff we're taking for the amount of space we have. So I learned from my grandfather, I literally lay it out on paper. I draw the spaces, they're 10 by 30s. I know exactly how long the trailer is. I know how big the tent is. So I draw on there, trailer, porta-john, tent, our kitchen area, our other trailer, and I basically draw a blueprint for the spaces down to what pieces I'm taking, if we have a truck bed or a vehicle or whatever. So then we know where everything's at on the space and we don't bring too much and we make sure we bring it up. The other thing you have to prepare for is buying stuff. So I never want to come like packed to the gills, no space at all. It does happen by accident, but then you always have like a contingency plan of, you know, my dad's constantly running around this area. He can help me out if we're going to have too much stuff.
We are at DEFCON 1.
DEFCON 1. We have a plan, you know, that in his schedule, he'll be able to get stuff home for me if need be. It takes weeks to plan for this, making checklists and whatnot, but then you get into like crunch time of rounding everything up, packing the trailer. We try and do the trailer the week before, so if we need to buy something we can't find, we have time for that. We turn our box trailer here, you'll see in the videos, we turn that into our hotel room while we're there, so I've built beds for it. We got coat hangers in there, I got heaters, we have places to put our luggage, we keep the totes and stuff in there, the stuff that really can't get wet or have any kind of moisture get near it. Got to make sure that trailer has an onboard battery for the lights inside. Got to make sure that's charged. Coolers, food, our kitchen area. We take a Blackstone. We got to make sure we got propane for the Blackstone, propane for heat, propane for our fire pit, which we honestly couldn't live without when we're at the shows. I bought this silly little $150 propane fire pit that literally keeps us alive. You know, especially during this last show when it was 37 degrees and sleeting. It was nice to have that kind of controlled heat source that we could stand around outside. The reason we don't stay in a hotel is there's a couple of reasons. One, it's extremely expensive and it's super hard to make any kind of money at these shows if you're paying $2 something a night in a hotel. Other problem at Carlisle and Hershey is you can't get to the show because of the traffic. So it saves us a lot of time being able to roll out of the trailer, walk to the bathrooms in the morning, get a shower, brush your teeth, whatever you're going to do, and walk right back to the spaces.
What is the strategy behind setting up the spot and like the display? Because like we moved it around a couple times. I like how it is. What's your thinking behind it?
So I learned this strategy from my grandfather and my dad. My dad's been doing trade shows for his whole career as an antique dealer. So I mean, it's just like anybody else that's setting up a store or looks at it. I mean, you want to grasp people walking by. So same as a Target display, it's the same as my booth at Carlisle. We kept moving stuff around as stuff sold because I want to grasp people and get them to walk through the booth, because that guy that's looking for 55 to 66, truck fender, if I get the fender in the back of the space, he can't see it. So I want to put the things that are desirable that I know people are looking for right out front. So the porcelain signs, the visors, the truck parts, things like that we put up front. Oddball, weird stuff, we try and get it closer to the front, but really we're there to sell certain things, and other things, I basically learned throughout the show are a much smaller group of people, and that maybe needs to go on the internet. It's like a lot of the reason that I bought the ISETTA was I knew that it was going to bring people to the booth, because I've been doing cars my whole life. I've only seen an ISETTA in person, maybe now owning that one twice. So it's not a car you ever really see. Having that on the space has brought in really big crowds.
Is there any tactic that you use when approaching somebody to buy something that catches your eye?
Probably let them know I'm serious. I try not to really waste anybody's time. I try not to ever negotiate on something I'm not sure about. It all depends on the item too. So, if we're talking about a vehicle, I have a set of questions I like to ask, or if it's an item, try and buy it at where I can do something with it. If it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. But I try and always be fair. Everything's just condition, and that's pretty much it, condition and price.
So how do you go about negotiating a sale with somebody that's interested in buying something from your inventory? So we'll start with the in-person one, for example.
Again, condition, availability, kind of what I put into it, just fairness. A lot of you know me, I tend not to get along well with somebody that's chopping me at my knees, that can't understand what it costs and how much experience it takes to be able to round this stuff up. It's tough to deal with some people. They're just kind of lowballing. There's a large group of people in this car community, and I'm sure everybody will agree, that just literally will respond to every ad and offer you have, and those ones are tough to deal with for sure.
Is it different online than in person, do you think, when it comes to negotiating?
100%. 90% of people online, they're sitting behind their phone screen. It doesn't take a lot of effort to offer somebody half. You don't have the repercussion of being face to face. I mean, I could say at Carlisle, there's probably only 2 or 3 instances where I was like, dude, really? Like, no, I'm not gonna. No, I won't take half. Like, no, the $600 door, $200, no, thank you. That typically doesn't happen in person. Most negotiations in person are very fair, and they have a justification for why they're offering you what they're offering you. And I'd say, the majority of the time it's because they want to buy in bulk. So, yeah, it's great. More stuff gone. Yep, we can do that.
Explain your relationship with other pickers / car enthusiasts. So some of just the people that you were kind of hanging around there, not just people coming in to buy.
Yeah, so a lot of the people that come around the booth and hang out with me actually started off as customers, and then we just got closer. So there were some guys there that were helping us move some heavy stuff at the booth, and they just came around and drink and hang out, which is a lot of what happens at the swap meets anyways. But those 2 particular guys were started off as customers. I had hauled some parts to my buddy Jimmy there, and my buddy Paul, I'd actually sold him a truck a long time ago. Easy to get along with, and likes what I do, and I like what he does, so we just kind of became buddies. And I have a lot of people like that I've either sold stuff to and became friends, or we do similar things, we're in a similar business, or like similar vehicles or parts or signs or pumps or whatever it is. So definitely met a lot of people over the years that became good friends of mine.
So explain the story behind the ISETTA,
Yeah, so the ISETTA, my dad was running around picking the show on Monday, and the ISETTA had came in on a rollback with a really rusty Willys Jeep pickup, and my dad sent me a picture and he called me and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know anything about it, but you know, if it's complete and it's original paint, maybe there's a title, it might be a good buy." And he started talking to the guy and he told me how much the car was, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know, I've never even seen one for sale that's complete and original like that and it has the title." So we were able to get a deal done on the car. Brought the car back to the Spaces, and it was a big hit. Yeah, I think that may have even found a home for the ISETTA. We'll see.
That SU, what's up with that?
So I bought it's a 58 NSU Lambretta D model. I didn't really know much about that scooter when I bought it. I knew I liked it. I knew that it was complete. I knew the motor turned, and I knew that it was rare because I'm no scooter expert. I'm really not. There are guys that I'd say your average scooter enthusiast knows more than I do. What I know is condition, and I know that completeness on something from Germany that was manufactured in the 50s is huge. So when I looked at that scooter, I'm like, wow, this thing is really, really complete. I got the original key, I have all the body parts, you know, and this motor turns, and this guy's had this thing for, 20-something years. He had a pile of receipts from eBay and articles and stuff that he had printed out over 20 years. So it was just a really cool thing. That was an item that I didn't really care if I was buying it right or if I could resell it. I liked the scooter, and now it's in the shop, and looks like it needs a piston ring or maybe a head gasket, but we're optimistic that we'll be able to get that scooter running and driving. And that was more of a passion purchase than anything. I just really liked that scooter with those double saddles on it. It just had a lot of styling to it. So the Yamaha Hopper scooter I found, honestly, I picked it up at a junkyard. It was in the scrap pile, and I pulled it out of the scrap pile, and I'm looking at it, and I knew it was missing parts, but the motor kicked and it had compression. It sounded like it was going to start at the scrapyard. So I bought the scooter from the scrapyard. It's a 50cc Yamaha Hopper, like a late 80s, and Bill got it running, and it was missing a ton of parts. Even though it ran and drove, it was missing like foot pegs and the front cover and muffler. And, it was a rough scooter, but I found out that there's a huge following for those scooters, and guys love this. So we took it to Carlisle. It was not expensive. It was a couple $100, but I figured it would sell, and it did. The guy kind of fell in love with it. He knew exactly what it was. He had a bunch of parts for it at home, and we rehomed it. And he was actually drove it out of Carlisle.
So what is your favorite swap meet to go to, and then what are some of the events that we're going to be at?
So my favorite swap meet to go to is by far, hands down, Hershey. Behind Hershey, it's probably a toss-up between Charlotte and Carlisle. Charlotte's just a really good time. We get to find stuff, but it's, like I said, it's a lot of social stuff too, so that's fun. Hershey, though, by far, for picking and just the overall experience, Hershey's like the Mac Daddy of them all. You get stuff you've never seen before at Hershey, and I buy a ton of stuff at Hershey. It's really nice. It's all on pavement too, so even if you get rain, it doesn't matter. The facilities and everything in Hershey are amazing. Really, really awesome show. Carlisle's just different. We do set up at Hershey, just like we do at Carlisle, but Carlisle's just different because they own the fairgrounds. It's on grass. It's just a different kind of atmosphere. You get different stuff at Hershey. It's just the crazy amount of gas and oil stuff comes into Hershey. A lot of the people that do Hershey don't do Carlisle. So, Hershey's more fun because it's way bigger. So Hershey's probably 2 times the size of Carlisle, maybe more. But Carlisle's just different. I don't know how to explain it. It's just different. It's a little more lax at Carlisle as far as the rules go. There's just so much stuff going on at Hershey, antique car wise. I'd say that's its main difference between Carlisle. Carlisle's like a swap meet. You get all different eras. Hershey's like really, I'd say, pre-70. You don't get hardly anything from the 80s or newer in Hershey. It's very early stuff you get at Hershey, and that's across the board from the cars to the signs to the gas pumps or whatever. Just Hershey's nuts. Hershey's totally crazy. It's unlike anything you've ever seen swap meet wise. So if you haven't gone, you got to go. It's free to get in. You just got to get there, find a place to stay.
Okay, so in your opinion, was Carlisle 2022 a success?
Carlisle 2022 was a big success. We worked really hard for it. The weather was very trying. We got all 4 seasons at Carlisle this year. That always makes it tough. That definitely hurt us on Friday afternoon. Friday is like the really good big sale day, and we had rain roll in at 1 o'clock pretty heavy. So I can't imagine what Carlisle would have been like this year if we didn't get that rain on the big sale day. But we still did great. We had a great time. And overall, it was a 2 thumbs up. It was a really good show for sure. It was a huge turnout, but the weather, as far as the retail crowd, all the spectators coming in, the weather Friday afternoon definitely impacted the show. If you all enjoyed our video here and our Q&A on Carlisle and swap meets in general, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If it's something we didn't cover that you're looking for an answer on. Our next video, we're going to cover a little bit about what we did at Canfield. We have a ton of good videos coming out here. We were just on the road. We did Canfield, we did Carlisle, then rolled right into Canfield, so we've been very busy around here, but we got an awesome video coming out on the F100 that I bought down in Charlotte here soon. We're going to have a shorter video on the ISETTA, and the Canfield video is going to be pretty cool, so make sure you check that out. Please like and share and subscribe. And if you're in the market for an Iron City Garage t-shirt, hoodie, or sticker pack, please check out our website, ironcitygarage.com, where you can buy all of that stuff and you can see our current inventory. Shane is also working with me here, my cameraman, on helping me get all the parts that I have for sale onto the website, so keep an eye on that as well. When you go onto the website, a little window pops up, asks if you'd like to subscribe to our newsletter. I only send about 4 of those out per year, so don't be afraid to put your email in there. We're not going to blow you up with emails. About every quarter, I'll send out a newsletter to let you guys know what's going on. If you don't follow us on Instagram, please check that out. That's a daily live feed of what we're doing here. You won't miss anything if you follow us on Instagram, I promise. But thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for the next video.